apologies for the IT. I had thought of getting some paper darts, paper aeroplanes that I could wake everybody up with after lunch, but I'm afraid that's not possible either. I will try and pursue this without my slideshow. My qualifications for doing this are slightly limited in the sense I've only been in Oman for about 20 months, so my experience of Oman is limited, and I have never been an entrepreneur. I spent 25 years in the British government and 5 years in Shell. I do have an entrepreneurial itch I would like to scratch. Both my brother and my sister and my mother all started their own companies, and my brother is rather sickeningly now a multi-millionaire. So I do have an entrepreneurial itch I want to scratch, and I'm quite passionate about the subject in Shell in Oman. By way of introduction, Intilaaqah for the non-Arabic speakers means to take off or to launch, and we've tried to capture that in the logo that you'll see at the bottom there, where the third letter, the ta, in Arabic forms an upward arrow. So that's the background behind the logo. Background and history of Intilaaqah. The program is a member of Shell's Livewire International Social Investment Program. Livewire was first launched in 1982 in Scotland, in the UK, to try and tackle youth unemployment in Scotland. Since 1982, the program's grown rapidly and internationally to become one of the industry's largest organizations for young entrepreneurs, with a social network of more than 100,000 members. The Intilaaqah program, the Middle East version of Livewire, was launched in Oman 20 years ago. At the time, it was Shell's gift to the nation to mark His Majesty's 25th anniversary as Sultan. Oman was the first Middle Eastern country to have the program, which was subsequently rolled out to a further 7 countries in the Middle East. The launch was partly in response to Oman's 2020 vision, which was drafted in 1995, and which set targets for the private sector and for diversification of the economy. And as we all know, those targets haven't quite been met yet. Since 1995, training has been provided to more than 8,000 Omanis across the Sultanate. The program has also gone through a number of iterations, which I'll touch on and which are shown in the timeline on the slide. In brief, there was an establishment of an Intilaaqah fund in 2005. So after 10 years, we decided, and this is way before Rafad and the other financial players in the market, we decided to establish the Intilaaqah Enterprise Fund. This morphed into what we now call the Namu, or Growth Fund, in 2012. There was a revitalization of Intilaaqah training in 2013, and in 2014 we signed MOUs with a number of institutions such as Ajal, Higher Water, and the Zubair Small Enterprise Center. You've already heard from Adil from SEC from the panel today. This year we've signed an MOU with the Ministry of Education to support entrepreneurship competitions in school, which I think is something that someone just raised a few moments ago. So one of Shell's general business principles is to contribute to sustainable development, balancing short and long-term interests and integrating economic, environmental, and social considerations into our business decision-making. In Oman, Shell's core business, which is delivering support to its Omani partners like PDO and OLNG and Shell Oman Marketing, plays a role in stimulating the economy, the country's economic base. But Shell also continuously aims to improve the ways the company contributes to wealth creation and stimulating the country's economic base beyond its core business, and that was the origin of the Intilaaqah program. The objectives of the program, written up there if you can see them, are self-evident, essentially to enhance the knowledge, skills, and attitudes of young Omanis towards entrepreneurship and private sector wealth creation in general. As already mentioned, the original objectives were prompted by the 2020 vision. We've had a degree of success in meeting some of these objectives, but as everyone here today will be aware, there's a tremendous amount more to do to expand the SME sector in Oman and make it self-generating and sustainable. I mentioned earlier that in 2005 we augmented the Intilaaqah entrepreneurial training program with a $10 million fund managed by Growfin. The fund aimed at financing startups and small businesses. The fund was not fully active until 2007, but in 2010 we added further funds, taking it to $17 million. In 2012, we separated the fund from Intilaaqah, and Growfin now manages it in partnership with the Shell Foundation rather than us locally. This was partly, the separation and the Shell Foundation involvement was partly in response to the employment situation in the Middle East generally back in 2011. Everyone will recall the troubles, and what Growfin now does is it manages a number of NAMU funds across the Middle East on behalf of Shell Foundation, and it was easier to do it that way rather than have it run by Shell, my office in Shell locally. Since 2007, Growfin has lent over $18 million from this fund. As you will recall, the fund is $17 million, so they're beginning to start to get some churn in over 30 investments in Oman. It supported 90 local startups and growing businesses, supported 200 entrepreneurs, and sustained over 900 jobs. About a third of these jobs are held by Omanis. Unfortunately, the focus on the NAMU fund from around 2010 onwards and getting the fund set up across the Middle East took our attention away from the training aspect at around that time. And so we launched what we called rather unimaginatively Intilaaqah 2.0 in 2014 to revitalize the training. Under the scheme, our training partner, the Modern Gulf Institute, runs a series of what we call Bright Ideas workshops. Basically, we put adverts out in the papers around the country, and people come along to the Bright Ideas workshops. We aim in each region, and we do this in 5 regions across Oman, in each region we aim for about 4 Bright Idea workshops of about 100 people each, and the intention is to get the best 25, or the brightest 25 ideas from those workshops, and at the workshops, the forms for enrollment in the course called Becoming a Successful Owner-Manager are available for the participants. So that's how in each of the 5 regions we get about 100 participants, with the result that over the country as a whole we have about 500 graduates a year from the Becoming a Successful Owner-Manager course. The course itself is 7 weeks long, 2 hours a day. I say day, but it's actually in the evening after work. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week for 7 weeks. The curriculum is around analysing the business context and doing business plans and financial projections. As I mentioned before, we've signed MOUs with a range of different companies and institutions with the aim of, in a sense, getting a menu of choice. So when you graduate from the Intilaaqah program, you then can get some finance from NAMU, or you can maybe try getting a contract from Higher Water or from Ajyal, the towel group, and so on. So that's the idea. How successful has it been? Well, as you can see from this pie chart, the answer so far is not very. Having said that, the first set of entrepreneurs graduated only a year ago, and the second set only a month or two ago. These statistics are from the first set a year ago, and only 15 of the 500 plus course graduates had started their own companies on completion of the program. Further 51 people had already started their companies before the program and benefited from the business orientation in the course. Does this mean we failed the other 400 plus participants? The statistics are aligned with Mr. Parembi's statistics this morning on motivation, I fear. I think some participants regard the program as a kind of mini MBA, and we've heard reports that employers like seeing it on people's CVs. So the training input to those that are not starting or running their own companies is not completely wasted. You mentioned the need to change the culture, and I think Intilaaqah has played its role in that. The low success rate is also indicative of the motivational and regulatory challenges that entrepreneurs face in Oman. And these have all been mentioned already this morning, so I don't intend to go into them. And I think the current economic conditions don't help either. We've heard it takes entrepreneurs a long time to register their companies, so we're hopeful that this rather dismal pie chart is not the end of the story, and that people will start or continue to try to register their companies. In any case, the results of the mini-survey that we did have prompted us to consider significant enhancement in our support for Intilaaqah graduates. I don't know if is Irshad here somewhere? Yeah. So Irshad's working on a bunch of different ideas, including adding startup help, incubation and acceleration processes, actually getting some real estate so people can walk into Intilaaqah for help, adding areas of assistance like marketing, collection and regulatory support, extending our collaboration MOUs to other entities such as Al-Rafads and Sharaka, banks, consultants, etc. And most importantly, from my perspective, generating a better alumni network, both face-to-face and on social media. Somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was the gentleman from Oman mentioned the buzz and activity, and we don't have that in Intilaaqah. You attend the course for 7 weeks and then it disappears from your life. So we want to get these 8,000 people who've been through these courses in the last 20 years to talk to each other, because maybe one can sell to the other or buy from the other, and networking is the answer, to create a bit of buzz in the SME environment. To add to that, we were considering reinstating an annual event recognizing and awarding achievements. Perhaps the success of the Intilaaqah program is best illustrated by looking at a few examples, and sadly, as I've mentioned in the last slide, it is just a few. Despite the statistical lack of success, Intilaaqah is proud to see that many of the young Omanis who benefited from its services over the years have not only started their businesses, but have significantly expanded them. There's pictures here of a few examples of different types of SME in different parts of Oman set up by our Intilaaqah graduates. You probably recognize some of them. The guy at the top left is kind of quite famous in Intilaaqah and in Livewire. Walid Al-Wahabi. He's a sort of the poster entrepreneur for Intilaaqah in Oman. He's definitely a success story. While he was studying in the USA, he covered the cost of his tuition by working in a fast food chain, leading fast food chain, where he gained valuable insights into the industry, and I think he was promoted to become manager. Having worked in McDonald's in my gap year myself, that's quite an achievement in a short time. Inspired by his experience, he decided to research the potential for fast food in Oman. And I think the great thing about Walid is that he was a first mover. No one else had done this. and he was the first independent fast food outlet of its kind in Oman. He started the company in 2003, Al-Wali's, and the following year he had attended an Intilaaqah program, and this inspired him to expand the business, and he soon had 5 branches and a turnover of many hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not many years after starting, he turned down a bid of $650,000 to buy him out, so a measure of his success. Currently, he aims to start a new traditional Omani food line and now owns a successful bakery in Muscat as well. As I said, he's been an inspiration to subsequent Intilaaqah students as well as to the wider community, and has featured in magazine interviews and on the Intilaaqah website for the way he overcame funding and other challenges along his journey. Second success story I wanted to touch on is Mansour al-Mahrouki. Mansour and 2 partners started Victoria Lake back in 2008, named, I think, after his childhood in Africa, his family's background in East Africa. Victoria Lake successfully proven itself as a supplier of personal protection equipment, PPE, tools and high-pressure pumps, etc., to the oil and gas sector in Oman. And Mansour states that Intilaaqah helped him most in the business planning and market research areas. Part of the business planning aspect prompted him to think about moving his business into the more lucrative area of pressure testing in the near future. To do this, he needs considerable amount of funding to grow the company, so well beyond Al-Rafad's limit. He's now in touch with Growfin and the Namu Fund to secure this, and I've personally introduced him to the in-country value manager in PDO to help him get around the sort of chicken and egg issue of how do you get the funding if you don't have the contract. So the rest is up to Victoria Lake. But as always, I think also I was talking to Lena, the Zubair Small Enterprise Centre has also helped Mansour in putting him in touch with one of the Zubair businesses as a supplier. And that point is an illustration of something that I wanted to say later, which is all of this is intended to be collaborative and not competitive. The aim is that we can all help these individuals. The more, the better, and the greater the success of the sector. The final person I wanted to mention was Zioun Al-Jabri. She's the owner of New Leaf Trading, which is a company specialized in print screening. Zioun graduated from the Intilaaqah program in 2013, so she's one of the 15 people in that slide I showed earlier, and was inspired to start this business a year later in the area she was passionate about, print screening. Zioun has been successful in growing her business following a successful launch of a new design catalogue and is expecting growth in her bottom line of 35% this year, so congratulations to her. That's all I had to say. And I should end by saying that any success of any of these people is down to the entrepreneur, not, of course, to Intilaaqah. All we can do is to enhance the skills, knowledge, and attitudes of those who participate in the course, and help them through personal contacts and whatever once they graduate. But I do believe that over the years, Intilaaqah has highlighted the SME sector long before the wonderful proliferation of organizations we now have available to young entrepreneurs. So it's our intention, as I mentioned, to ensure that anything we do in this space is collaborative and not competitive. Thank you for your time and for listening. I hope I've conveyed the aims of Intilaaqah and given you a sense of what it is without exaggerating any claims for its success. Happy to take any questions if you have them. Otherwise, lady at the back.
Thank you so much for your inspiring contribution. I would like to know, what's your selection criteria for your participants? That's the first question. The second question is, have you ever conducted research to find out why people don't start businesses after enrolling in your courses?
The answer to the second question is no, we haven't done research. We have impressionistic views, which I gave here, but we haven't done research. In terms of how we select the participants, it's voluntary. It's not us selecting in the sense that we don't go out looking for them. What we do is we advertise in the local paper that the Bright Ideas workshops are happening. People come along to the Bright Ideas workshop, and the idea essentially is to get the top 25% of ideas from each workshop. So if someone's not applying for the course at the end of a Bright Ideas workshop, and they have a bright idea, and the facilitator can see that it's a bright idea, then we might sort of persuade them to apply. But basically, the application forms are available at all the Bright Ideas workshops, and that's the means. We are, alhamdulillah, going to put the application process online. Why we haven't done this 15 years ago, I don't know, but we are going to do it now. So that will go ahead, which should make it a lot easier. But also, it might give us more people so we become selective rather than taking people who apply. Gentleman at the back.
Hello, sir. My name is Abbas. I'm from Global Scientific. I just want to like to know that this program is only for the local Omanis, or even the expats can be actively participating in it?
Specifically for Omanis.
Okay.
And specifically for people who have, what do you call it, graduated from school.
Okay.
So school or university.
No, I mean like our company is basically 100% Omani-owned company.
Yeah.
But the administration, if they are willing, the owners are willing to send some of their admin guys, the managers or the CEOs of the company, are they eligible for that or no?
I don't think so. No, it's specifically aimed at Oman. It's aimed at startups.
Okay.
The Namu Fund, since originally was aimed at startups, but since then has moved kind of rightwards into the upper end of SMEs, where we think there's a gap in the market. I know Sammy's here somewhere, but without wishing to steal Grofin's thunder, it often puzzled me why people would go to Grofin for loans rather than to banks. And Sammy kindly took me round 3 of his clients a couple of months ago, and they were absolutely adamant that it was the right business decision for them. They'd had the runaround from the banks, excuse me, any bankers here, but they'd had the runaround from the banks, and who would take heavy collateral and then not lend as much money as they wanted. Mm-hmm. And Grofin is in that niche of lending substantial amounts of money, but the key value proposition of Grofin is the business advice and hand-holding that goes with it. So that's the upper end of the market. So the sort of people that you're talking about would be eligible if they were about to start their own company up, but as sort of managers of an Omani company, probably not. There are probably other courses you could do.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
No more questions? Thank you very much.